Hi, I'm Karina,
And I'm Maddie.
and welcome to Everything But the Fairy Tale Sink. So, this week we have a special holiday episode. We are going to be covering Santa Claus. Woo!
I'm looking forward to it. And this episode will be coming out on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
So happy Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. Oh no, either one works.
Yes. If you celebrate Christmas, we hope you have a fantastic holiday. If you don't, totally okay.
Hope you have a fantastic whatever you choose to celebrate.
Yes. All right, so for our recommendations of the day, all right, do you want to go first or can I go first?
You can go first.
Okay, I have one for once. All right, my recommendation of the day is since it's Christmas Eve, bake some cookies with your loved ones. Like, I know getting cookies from the store for Santa is easy, but like it's really fun to bake cookies. So,
My recommendation is, ow, Jesper. Go to bed on time on Christmas Eve tonight. Go to bed on time so that when
that's
you wake up on Christmas, you're not exhausted and you actually have the energy for the holiday.
that's a good one. Oh, and so for the holiday season, we're trying out the question of the day. We'll decide if we're going to keep it in the new year. So our question of the day is, what is your favorite holiday song?
There are other songs other than All I Want
All
for
the
Christmas
Christmas
Is
with
You.
you.
Jesper!
I
He's
mean,
being
my
a
top will always be,
terror.
huh?
He's being a terror.
Oh, I was gonna say my top song is always gonna be Christmas Eve Sarajevo by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So,
Yep,
are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Tell me
So,
all about Sandy Claus. Ooh, I just
Sandy
hit my
Claus. Are we
Sandy
gonna
Claus.
continue with Sandy Claus?
Yeah, we are. Stuff him in the bag.
Absolutely. So, we all know who Santa Claus is, or at least most of us do. He's a jolly man in a red suit who brings toys and treats to the good kids and brings coal, or whatever you believe, to the bad ones. I'm sure many of us who grew up celebrating secular Christmas have pictures with some elderly man dressed up as Santa. And if your family is
Thankfully for me, it was always my grandpa. So I always knew that I could trust the Santa Claus because sometimes, sometimes those mall Santas smell like beef and cheese.
fantastic reference. Mall one, we did like that community center in town. I'm not gonna name the town, but that like old hall, we went to the
Oh
one
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, so if your family is anything like mine, also there was always like the distinct Santa presents and the family presents.
The
And even
Santa
still,
presents were always wrapped in Santa. My for at least my family, the Santa presents were always wrapped in the wrapping paper that had Santa's face all over it. So quite the narcissistic man, but
I honestly like don't entirely remember the difference between Santa and family, but yeah, there was a distinct like Santa versus family. But yeah, how exactly did we get this cultural icon? That's what we're going to talk about today. However, before we begin, shout out to my mom, who is the one who requested this episode. Her birthday is actually Christmas Day, so drop a happy birthday, Natalie, in the comments. All right, so disclaimer before we begin. When we say true story on this podcast, it almost always means the agreed upon story as supported by historical documents. Don't take any of this as a hard set fact. In fact, don't take most stories of saints as a hard set fact. But I hope a decent chunk of it is because it's actually like decently happy for once. So, St. Nicholas was born just good old Nicholas in the village of Patara in what is now southern Turkey around 80 to 80. That's fun to say. I've never said that out loud.
wow.
AD to 80 to wealthy parents. All was good and dandy, but then those wealthy parents died.
Also, he's not man.
Sort of. Eh. So as legend goes, Nick inherited everything, and so he sold all of his possessions and gave all of the funds, including the money he inherited from his parents, to the poor and needy. He
Good
then
lad.
became I know. I'm like, a bit dramatic, but good for you. He then became a Christian monk and dedicated his life to God, and he even became the Bishop of Mira, not Myria, Bishop of Mira at a pretty young age. He became known throughout the land for his generosity, love for children, and protection he offered sailors, which more on that later. However, there was one guy who really didn't like Nick, and that was the Roman Emperor Diocletian. Now, Nick wasn't special. Diocletian didn't like any Christians. He ruthlessly persecuted them. You okay over there?
I had a small demon attacking my foot.
Oh no, but yeah. So Diocletian was not a fan of Christians. And at the time, monotheism was a crime, because this was during the time of the Roman Empire. So Nick, like many others, was actually imprisoned for his beliefs. However, we do know he was released sometime later, as there's documented proof of him attending the Council of Nicaea. I'm sorry, but he attended a Christian council in AD 325. We do have some legends of Nick that came from during his lifetime. I'm going to share 3 of them, because 3 is actually like a recurring number throughout his legends. I'm not entirely sure why. Oh, probably Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yep, that's exactly why.
Big brain. The first is probably the most famous legend about Nick. There was once a father, had 3 daughters, and had no money. So they were so poor, in fact, that the girls had no dowries. Now, dowries are a weird concept to a lot of us, but basically the bride's father pays the groom to marry her. So if you didn't have a dowry, you weren't getting married. So the father was considering selling his daughters into servitude or slavery, depending on the version you read. Which I was just kind of like, okay, I guess the times were the times. However, on 3 separate occasions, 3 sacks of gold appeared overnight, enough to give each of the girls a sufficient dowry so they could be married instead of sold into servitude. And on the 3rd night, the father saw Nick throwing a sack of gold through the window and thanked him for his kindness. I have very mixed feelings on that story. Do you have any thoughts?
No.
Okay. The second one is like a tiny bit gruesome, so I'll warn in advance, and it's probably my favorite because I'm a mildly messed up person. So these 3 college students were on their way from Myra to Athens when they stopped in an inn, thinking like, oh, we'll get a nice peaceful night of sleep here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what happened? The innkeeper chopped them up
As one does.
and shoved them into a pickling tub.
Uh-huh.
So Nick was on the same route as them, kind of like behind them. And so he was like, oh, hey, in. And he just went to bed. But he's laying in bed and he's sleeping, and he dreams about this crime that was committed, and he was like, oh no. So he goes to the pickling tub and he prays over it, and all 3 of the college students just spring back to life.
All right.
And that's where the story ends. I don't know if anything ever happened to the innkeeper.
Probably.
I would hope so.
St. Nicholas probably prayed over him, and then he fell to pieces into the pickling tub.
Yeah, that seems fair. So the last legend relates to sailors. Nick was on a pilgrimage to, I believe, Israel, and he was going to do, Jesus stuff. On the way back, however, the ship got hit by this, huge storm, as one does. So Nick began doing what he did best, which was praying. And then everything was fine. So the sailors were like, yeah, dude, good for you.
Isn't he the patron saint of good travels, or at least good ocean travels? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how he became the patron saint of seafarers. However, it was actually in death that Nick got as popular as he did. It's generally agreed that he died December 6th, AD 343 in Myra, and was buried in the church cathedral. I believe it's pronounced manna, Manna, is a liquid substance that's rumored to have healing powers. I saw it referred to as holy water, holy oil, but it formed in and around his grave, which, and people would take pilgrimages there and collect it in either tiny vials or use rags to seep it up, which good for them. To this day, in many European countries, his death is celebrated as a holiday on December 6th, which is St. Nicholas's Day.
And if you remember in the Krampus episode, Krampus comes and visits around that time too,
yes.
Where, St. Nicholas gives the good children gifts and Krampus drags the bad children to hell.
So chill. But yeah, within a century of his death, he was actually awarded the title of saint, which we might think, oh, that's a while, but that's actually a pretty short period of time to be awarded the title of saint. Sailors carried his stories far and wide, so there's chapels to Nick in Italy, Greece, France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Russia, Belgium, and most popularly, the Netherlands.
So how did we get the jolly fat guy?
We're getting there.
Pick it up. I want to know.
Patience, my young Padawan. And then in 1087, sailors from Bari actually stole Nick's bones and took them to their city, which is where they remain, and he is now known as the Saint of Bari, which I kind of think is funny. But yeah, so he was actually probably the most popular saint in all of Europe, throughout the Renaissance. And then in the 1500s, there was this thing called the Protestant Reformation, We do not have time to get into that. Crash course. It exists. But Catholicism got less popular real fast. Many of the saints died in popularity, and Nick was no exception. However, he stayed unusually beloved, especially in Holland. It is through Dutch immigrants that St. Nicholas, or his affectionate name Santa Claus, came to America in the 18th century. You know what they say, to quote Hamilton, in New York you can be a new man. Here we are, Madison. This is what you've been waiting for. So, a New York newspaper reported in both December 1773 and December 1774 that Dutch American families would gather to honor St. Nicholas Day, and America did what America does best, which is saw an opportunity for capitalism.
I was going to say, take the holiday, make it their own.
Firstly, he needed an easier name, so we went from Sinterklaas to Santa Claus. He then was incorporated into the Christmas holiday because we can't have two holidays. Clement Clark Moore's 1820 poem, An Account of a Visit from Santa Claus, or from St. Nicholas, which is more commonly known as The Night Before Christmas, or 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, is what gave us the stereotypical Santa image, which is a jolly fat man who goes down the chimney, leaves presents, drives a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer, etc.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, that poem is actually the reason we have the image of Santa we do today.
It's crazy how one work of literature can literally inspire the image of one being for generations and hundreds of years.
Now, I will note, like, it's possible that there was, like, other interpretations beforehand, but this is, like, the most concise example. And fun fact, Moore actually wasn't going to publish the poem due to its frivolous nature, but then he decided to. And then cartoonist Thomas Nast, my bad, is credited with being the... Huh?
Thomas Nasty.
Yeah, cartoonist Thomas Nast is credited with being the first to draw Santa as we know him today in his 1881 piece where he drew Santa with a red suit with fur trim. And sometime around this time, I can't entirely remember what, there were like these wood cuttings passed out that had like Mrs. Claus and the elves and the North Pole Workshop and stuff like that. So gift giving on Christmas got a rejuvenation in the early 19th century. And stores, of course, saw an opportunity. By the 1820s, there were advertisements for Christmas-specific shopping, and by the 1840s, there were whole sections in newspapers dedicated to holiday advertisements, many of which featured the newly popular Santa Claus. In 1841, a shop in Philadelphia put up a life-size Santa Claus model, and a bunch of other stores were like, that's a good idea, because thousands of children came to see this model. So, stores kept building and building and building and building, and we get mall Santas. In 1890s, yes. In the 1890s, the Salvation Army began their practice of dressing up unemployed men in Santa Claus suits to stand on the corners and attract potential donors. And the Macy's Santa began appearing in the Macy's Parade in 1924 and has appeared in almost every single one since. And that's how we got to where we are today. Do I love Santa Claus? Yes. Am I going to laugh at the fact that it really was just capitalism? Also, yes.
Christmas, Valentine's Day especially. Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
I mean, as much as I love Halloween.
Not as much so.
Fair. Anyways,
how did we get Santa to the North Pole?
That I don't know. I never found an answer on that.
Did you specifically Google it?
I mean, I looked at how we got the Santa Claus legend, so it never really came up here.
Did you specifically Google how did Santa get to the North Pole?
No, I'm doing that now.
Because I can see how we got elves, because, Belschnickel has, Sparta Peach, which is slowly dying away, thankfully. I think Krampus had a couple of demon friends that he would employ.
Okay, it's also attributed to Thomas Nast.
Okay, so we have Mr. Nast to thank for Santa in the red.
So this is from a blog on ocean-wide expeditions, which I'll add to my sources, but quoting from it, this was no random decision on Nast's parts. During the 1840s and 1850s, public imagination in Europe and America was stirred by several highly publicized expeditions to the Arctic, which at the time was largely unexplored. Not surprisingly then, the Arctic acquired in the news, literature, and visual arts of the day an almost mythical status, particularly the North Pole, since no one would see it until Robert Peary took the honor in 1909, though his claim is still disputed.
Okay, so a mythical jolly red fat guy chose to live in a, at the time, mythical-like place. Makes sense.
That does make sense. So there you go. I will say it was interesting to me, like how much less mythical it was when I actually looked into it.
Well, I knew about St. Nicholas, and I've known about St.
Yeah.
Nicholas since like middle school. Because I remember in one of my history classes, we had to do a project where we had to pick a saint, and it was St. Patrick,
I remember that.
St. Valentine, and St. Nicholas. And I remember learning how St. Nicholas became Santa Claus, but I never knew how we went from like sainthood to jolly old fat man in a suit.
Capitalism, I guess what we can say then is Merry Christmas. Just realized I put my laptop down when I mean my wish. That's dumb.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Yeah, what is coming up next, Madison?
Wow, patience.
I don't like having patience. It's no fun.
Up next, we are talking about the Welsh legend that occurs around the holidays of Mary Lloyd, which is MaryLWYD.
Is this the rapping skeleton horse?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I'm so excited.
It is. It is the rapping Welsh horse. And if you are very confused by what Karina and I have just said, come next week and we will I will tell you all about this very interesting legend story holiday activity.
I am so excited. I just realized what this is.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Anyways, wishes.
Wishes. My wish for you is that if you celebrate Christmas, you get the thing you most wanted when you wake up on Christmas morning. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I just really hope you have a good day.
My wish, kind of playing off that, is if you get a gift that you're not so fond of, you are able to play it off well.
That's good.
And if you do not celebrate Christmas and you celebrate any of the other holidays that happen around this time of year, I hope that you have a fantastic time with friends and family and your celebration goes exactly how you planned.
Anything else?
Yeah. We're just going to talk about a skeleton horse next.
I'm so excited.
Yep. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you don't, I will send Krampus after you. Happy holidays.
Also, leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Answer our question. If you like it, let us know and we'll continue doing it. Wish Karina's mother a happy birthday, which I will do right now. Happy birthday, Natalie. Incentive. Karina, do you want to say the incentive this time?
I can, yes. If we get to 50 followers on Instagram and 50 subscribers on YouTube, Madison will buy a Loki poster. If we get to 100 of each, I will buy a Shang-Chi poster. And if we get to 1,000 of each, Madison's stepdad Steve will try to go milk the plastic cow at Hagen, which is a Northwest grocery store.
Indeed. And make sure to go follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Both of them are at everythingbuttheftsink.
Yes.
And check those out. We post the episode descriptions on Instagram, and then every so often, Karina will post a fun little video on TikTok.
Yes. Website still down until further notice.
Yep. And with that, happy holidays. Be safe.
Happy holidays.
Have fun. Farewell.
You're of drinking age, don't get drunk or don't get too drunk. If you're not of drinking age, don't eat too much food. Drink some water. Take care of yourself this holiday season.
Bye.
Bye.